I have a confession to make. Sometimes I can be a little bit of a control freak. Just a bit. Sometimes it serves me well. I like things to be practical and efficient and effective. So I try and make sure that everything runs as smoothly and effectively in my life as possible. I like finding the shortest possible point from A to B in all applications of practical living. Well, maybe not all, but in a lot. However, I do have moments where I might overreact a little bit when things don't go exactly the way I planned. For example, if someone has used a tool and not put it back exactly the way that I would have put it back, instead of realizing that people are not psychic, that even if people were psychic, that doesn't mean that they should do everything exactly the way that I do it, I then get frustrated with them. Obviously, this is a point that I am busy walking real time in the moments that it comes up. Some moments I stand within it, other moments I allow my frustrations to overcome me, and that is part of my process. I'm walking. So basically, what I would like to do here is look at why these, let's call them, these things that I like to control, or rather, let me start again. Why has it become about control rather than support, effectiveness, expression, practicality? Why is there that emotional component instead of doing things within stability and living the realization that not everyone does things the same way, and not everyone has the same level of awareness in all the different areas of life. So, allow me to start by defining control. My current definition of control is when there is an emotional aspect involved, when things have to go exactly the way you want them to go without any room for flexibility, without any room for growth or change. And possibly what's maybe the biggest factor in control is that you are not humble enough to see when you're wrong, or to see when other people are not on exactly the same page as you. It's this kind of experience where you assume or believe that everyone should do things the way that you do them without question, and that everyone should listen to you when you tell them how to do something, and then do it that way forevermore. So that is a general kind of description of control. Obviously, from that description, from that definition, it's not exactly a word that I want to live. Actually, it's not at all a word I want to live. I want to be flexible. I want to support people in their individual paths that they're walking. I don't want to get frustrated with people when they don't do things exactly the way that I do them. I want to be able to learn from people. I want to be able to grow. I want to be able to comfortably and without demanding obedience, be able to support someone else to explore different methods, perspectives, ways, and so on. So, obviously, there is still a separation between who I want to be and how I want to be, and who and how I actually am in those moments when I see things out of place, apparently. And realize that it is not something that goes away overnight. It is not something that you can just magically transcend in one event, in one moment. That is the nature of our processes, that we face all of the different layers, all of the different perspectives over and over and over again. And we have many, many opportunities to choose whether to stand within walking through a point or fall and allow our emotional reactions and our nasty little thoughts and things to come and take over and define who we are. So, in having looked at all of these different perspectives, all of these different considerations within the design of control, what is the solution that can be walked? What can you do in those moments when something is out of place and the first thing that you want to do is have a tantrum about how useless everyone is? So, I find what supports me in those moments is I remind myself of the design of control. I remind myself to check myself. When I start throwing a little tantrum, there's a little voice inside of me that goes, is this really necessary? And yes, sure, there are still moments where I tell the voice to piss off, that I'm right and everyone else is wrong and it's all their fault for not having done the thing right in the first place. But I do not accept that, meaning that I'm not going to allow that to exist within me as a justification for future moments. My choice is to do my absolute best to make sure that I don't fall back into that pattern. So, I remind myself when something doesn't feel quite right within me, when there's a little voice saying, are you sure that whatever you're saying right now is really absolutely necessary? Okay, listen to the voice. Check myself. Take a step out of the reaction, meaning when you're busy having that little mini tantrum about how useless everyone is, or how many times you've told them not to do this and that. There is, let's call it a back door out of that experience. There's this little space within yourself. Maybe, no, rather, it's not a little space. There is a space within yourself where you can shift your focus to. So instead of your focus being on all of the thoughts going on inside of your head about how you're right, they're wrong, they're bad, you're good, you shift yourself back into that space within yourself where you are willing to reflect on yourself, where you're willing to assess your thoughts, to assess what you're feeling. Because within that assessment, so long as you're doing it objectively, you'll be able to see, oh, wait a minute. I'm accessing this control design again. I know because the pitch of my voice is raised. I'm using a lot of words that involve you and why don't you and how many times have I said this and whatever other words and experiences and changes usually come with that design of control. And from there, you breathe deeply for a few moments. Just breathe in and out. And basically ask yourself the question if that's really how you would like to live. If it's not, then change it. Shift your focus into, okay, maybe I was assuming that people would do things the way that I do them automatically. Maybe I'm assuming that my way is the best way. Maybe there's a different way, a more effective way. Maybe I need to open this point up for discussion and see if there are any other perspectives that could improve how I'm doing things. All of these different aspects that you can start looking at instead of staying in that emotional state. Within that, you're giving yourself the opportunity to practice being flexible, to practice being supportive of other people, to practice your communication skills, to practice not being angry about something probably very silly. And even if it's not something very silly, is anger ever really a good way to deal with something? Hardly ever. I'm not saying that every single time you do this it will be successful, and I'm not saying that you're always going to find better solutions. You're still going to make mistakes. I'm still going to make mistakes. That's pretty much inevitable. What we can do is support ourselves as best we can in the moments that are here.